Can a conditional resident sponsor a spouse for permanent residence? Hi, my name is Rahim Dhanani. I'm a U.S. immigration attorney. I've been practicing U.S. immigration law for more than 25 years. What sparked today's question is I had a consultation with somebody last week who was a conditional resident, and they wanted to sponsor a new spouse that they were going to get married to. And initially I was just kind of thinking, wait a minute, usually if you're a conditional resident, the way that this works is you have an application where a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident is considered to be a petitioner, and they file an application on behalf of their spouse who's considered to be a beneficiary, and the application gets filed for that spouse, and then when that spouse gets their status, they don't get the full unrestricted 10-year green card where they're a full permanent resident. What they get is a conditional green card, and this happens if they've been married for less than 2 years. The Immigration Service will issue the conditional green card instead of the 10-year unrestricted green card. So in this case, this person was the conditional resident, and they wanted to sponsor somebody for a green card. In the previous example, the petitioner is filing for the beneficiary, so I didn't really understand initially how this conditional resident, who I was assuming was a beneficiary, was going to file on behalf of a newly acquired spouse. But after a second, it kind of dawned on me what was going on, which is the conditional resident was a conditional resident not because of marriage, but because they filed an EB-5 green card application. And part of the procedures for the EB-5 is that you get a conditional green card in that situation as well. And it's good for 2 years. And then you have to prove that you made the investments that are required for your particular program and that you employed the requisite number of employees, which normally it's around 10 employees for that EB-5 green card. So you get the conditional card, and then you have to prove that you met the requirement for that card, and then you can apply to remove the conditional status. So that's what was going on with this particular person. And to answer the question, yes, a conditional resident can in fact sponsor a newly acquired spouse for permanent residence. And that's actually in the definition of conditional residence. And the way that this works is the conditional resident files for the I-130 immigrant petition. And then if the spouse is in the U.S., they could do the adjustment of status as long as they meet certain criteria. And if not, then they would just do this as consular processing. And another thing that you want to kind of keep in mind with this type of application is that the spouse is going to be in the F as in Frank 2A category, and the F2A category, sometimes it gets backlogged, so there may be some timing issues. If the visa's currently available for your country, then you can file the application and kind of move the process along. But if there's a wait, then you just have to add that calculation into your overall strategy for getting the green card for your spouse and timing issues and things like that. And then another thing you want to kind of keep in mind is if ultimately the person who's sponsoring the beneficiary, in this case, the conditional resident who's now the petitioner, is sponsoring the beneficiary who is the spouse, if your petitioner's conditional card, when you try to remove that conditional status, if it gets denied, then that could affect your spouse's application, and they could also get denied as well, potentially. So you kind of want to keep those two things in mind. But yeah, overall, you can sponsor a spouse as a conditional resident as long as you meet the criteria for those types of applications. So I hope that's helpful. And if you want to watch some more videos about marriage visas and some more information about conditional residence, you can click on the link that's going to pop up here at some point and check out some of the videos in my marriage visa playlist. Hope that's helpful. Talk to you guys later. Bye.